Hi, everyone. It is Tanya Hertz here, and I'm going to share with you now the final video in the sections on teams, and we'll be looking at the composition of the teams themselves, and we'll be looking at the roles of the members. We will be looking at the different ability, personality types, the effect of diversity on teams, and I love this actual research on this team size, and I love it because it seems to match what we already know, or verify and validate the way that I feel about teams. So let's move on and actually start looking at some of the roles and what we mean by roles. Opla. Before we do that, let's talk about first the framework. I think I've mentioned Scrum. You've heard me say it a few times. It's really it's a type of meeting framework, meeting style that we typically use, or is typically used by software engineers and in software design in the agile development process. But it works for everyone. It can be used in all kinds of teams. And I love the Scrum framework. Scrum really helps teams work well together. It encourages people in the teams to learn through their experiences, their shared experiences, their iterations, or the different times that they go through the process. They're encouraged to communicate with each other and with each other within the team, and then also outside of the team. It's a system that encourages them to constantly improve, right? And constantly look at what they're doing right and then what's not working. And you do a lot of these like stand-up meetings in Scrum where you're accountable for or you're held to a high level of accountability. And just like most effective team theory, it really encourages that there's a common goal, that there's shared norms, that there's shared rules and understandings. And there's roles also within Scrum, and the roles are very clearly defined. And there are three primary roles in a Scrum team setting. Now, there's the product or project owner, and this person or persons owns what it is that you're making and why you're making it. So this is really who you're making it for, right? There's the Scrum Master, and he or she is the process facilitator. They know all the rules of Scrum. They know what is expected of the team. And the Scrum team are the ones who actually own how and how quickly that work is delivered. So Scrum is it's a great system. You can see direct communication is encouraged, not just within the team, but then also to the customer, to the client, to the idea maker, right? And so what kind of framework or interdependence would that be of all of these? Comprehensive, right? Comprehensive, because not just inside the team that communication is encouraged, but outside as well. All right. And we cover that in another video, if you want to go back and look at that video. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about some other types of team roles. So when we say role, we're talking about what we're expecting of a person and how we expect them to behave in any given setting. And there are three primary types of roles, two of which are beneficial towards team efficacy and one of which is not. And the beneficial are the two types of beneficial roles in a team are team task roles and team building roles. And the team task roles are the roles that these are the roles that refer to the behaviors that directly help the team to accomplish their tasks. And there are different kinds of roles. I'm sure you've seen these before. The task initiator or the team initiator, the coordinator, the orienter. So these people are doing things that help the team to accomplish their goals and specific tasks. Those initiators are the ones who are coming up with new ideas. They're the ones who are saying, hey, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? And the devil's advocate are the ones who are saying, no, I don't think we should. We should think about this differently. And these are the authentic dissenters in a team. Now, I'm not saying somebody who's blocking, that's different. It's not a negative thing. This is good when there's a challenge to the status quo. You don't want to get groupthink, which is a very common problem in a team setting. The energizer is the motivator. You also have the, those procedural technicians, those people who do the routine work of getting things done that need to be done. You also have the people who don't necessarily help with the tasks as much, or these roles that aren't so focused on getting the project done, but they really help the climate in the team to really be the best that it can be, right? Because let's face it, social climate matters when you're working with other human beings. It needs to be a good place to work. You need somebody who's encouraging, who's harmonizing. You need those people who are willing to compromise. You need those the gatekeepers or the expediters, the people who are really seeing, okay, who's working, who's not working, how do we get this person to work, right? And you do need followers as well in teams. You need people who just are willing to do the work, right? To do the work and get things done. All right. So we also have some negative self-serving roles in a team, and acting in a self-interested manner is not a good thing when you're talking about team behavior, especially when that self-interested manner is above the is done in a way so that it hurts the team. Nothing wrong with being self-interested if the your interests align with the team's interests, but when that doesn't happen, that's when there's problem. You see this when you see social loafers or slackers, those people who are just constantly just doing what they want to do and not helping the team to achieve their goals. You have those the dominator personality traits where the people are just trying to control the situation, even when they're not the right person to be controlling. You've got the recognition seeker, and I've had plenty of those in my teams where they just, all they want to do is talk about themselves. And did you see how I did this or did that? Or I almost said the name of one particular person, but yeah. You get aggressors, blockers. These are the people who just make team life miserable. And how do we ensure that we don't have these types in our team? Well, we can, in the beginning of our teams, or hiring is actually the best place, the selection process, give personality assessments, right? Look and see what past employers and past colleagues have said about that person. Look them up on LinkedIn. You can tell a lot about what people say about other people. That recommendation should be glowing, right? So again, those three types of roles: task, team builder, and then individualistic, all have an effect on performance. And ability is also very, very important when it comes to teams, but the ability of the team members really is dependent more upon how the tasks are actually structured in the team, whether they're disjunctive, conjunctive, or additive. So disjunctive tasks are when it doesn't really matter that every single person on the team is amazing, but it does matter that at least one person is amazing. And that's because the overall performance of the team is really reliant upon the member who possesses the highest level of cognitive ability or other kind of ability. So an example of this might be like, I don't know if any of you have ever done trivia night at the local pub, but with trivia night, you have a team of 5 people. They ask a trivia question, and it doesn't matter that all 5 people know the answer. You just need one highly intelligent person on that team, and you're going to win. And so you need to make sure that you have that one highly intelligent person. Now, a conjunctive task on the converse is totally opposite. It's where the weakest link is the one who sets the entire performance of the entire team. So the slowest person is the person who's setting the team's time. I always think of, I watch a lot of the Formula One races, and in the pits, right? The pit crew, the slowest person working in that pit crew, that person is going to determine the team's performance. It doesn't matter that everybody else is fast. One slow person slows everybody. Additive tasks. Now this is just kind of like the Girl Scouts, right? Where every member contributes individually, and then they, you pull them up. And so, on those kind of teams, some high performers, some low performers, doesn't really matter as long as it all evens out, right? All right. So another important consideration, and kind of alluded to this earlier, is personality. Personality is critical in teams. And of the big 5 personality indicators, the 3 that have the largest impact on team performance or team efficacy are agreeableness, conscientiousness, and extroversion. And we know that in teams, we typically want people, and we want to hire people who score pretty high in agreeableness, because they're the ones who they're looking for harmony. They're the ones who promote positivity in teams. They smooth over those uncomfortable situations. You also want conscientious people, because conscientious people are the ones who do what they say and say what they do. And those people work hard, and they do what it takes for the team to achieve their goals. And you also typically want extroverted people, because extroverted people tend to perform more effectively in a team environment. They work well with other people. They like being around other people. And so they tend to promote more positive, more pleasant interactions in teams. And there's also a consideration that you need to make about diversity of a team. Diversity is important. We know this, right? We know this. But there are 2 very, very different, and they seem like they are, can't think of the word right now, but they paradoxical. Oh, thank you. They seem paradoxical, these 2 approaches to diversity, because one says says that there is value in diversity, and the other says that diversity is detrimental. There's not value in diversity. And they're both true, even though they are paradoxical. And that's because of the type of diversity. So let's go through and we'll look at each of these individually. We'll start with the value in diversity, because I think that makes the most sense intuitively. We know that diversity is valuable because different people have different approaches to solving problems. And so when you have different approaches, you're more likely to have an approach that's going to work. You have different viewpoints, different ideas, different theories, and you're much quicker at coming to a solution, and the solution tends to be a much better solution. Okay? And so there is value in diversity, but research also says that there is it's detriment in diversity because of the similarity attraction approach. And that says that diversity is detrimental because people are more attracted to those who are like them than they are to those who are not like them. So we like to be around people who are like us, who look like us, who think like us, and who act like us. And we don't like to be around people who are very different from us. Now, how can these both be true? Well, it's because of the type of diversity. Is the diversity surface level or deep level? So surface level diversity is diversity that is on our surface, right? You can see it's diversity that you can look at somebody and you can say that person is different than me. The skin color is different, the age is different, the gender is different, or the sex is different. And we know that we typically see problems in team performance when there's surface level diversity initially in teams, especially with different age groups. But that's very initially, because people might have difficulty communicating with people who are, a different age than them, or a different, race or something like this, a different ethnicity. But these problems tend to fade over time as the members get to know one another, and they realize that it's just on our surface, right? Deep down, we have a lot of similarities. We like each other. We want to be with one another. We have right? Commonalities. And that's why when you go back to the value and diversity and problem solving approach, that's why that works. Now, deep level diversity is diversity based on deep internal factors, religion, right? Politics, right? Values. Now, these kinds of diversity differences in teams typically don't tend to cause problems in the early stages of the team development, but when you go along the path and you start going through the forming, storming, norming phases of team development, and people get to know one another, then they can lead to problems. And so basically, the more the people know one another, the less they like being around one another, and the worse the team performs. Now, that doesn't mean to say that you should not put people in the same team who do have a deep level diversity. Long term, it is a good thing that people understand one another, can work with one another. But I mean, look at where the country is right now. It's a difficult thing. For business, the easiest, most effective way to see improvements in your team performance when you have people who are deep level diversity is just focus on the objectives, focus on the outcome, and not on the understanding of one another as much, and just make it all about the outcome, and you're more likely to have better team performance. Okay. All right. So team size, what is best? Does size matter? When it comes to teams, yes, it does matter. It matters particularly when you're looking at when you're looking at management teams, when you're looking at project teams, not necessarily for production or additive tasks, but it definitely matters when people are interdependent in some way and working in almost any of the other types of teams. So think about this. Think about some of the problems you've had when you worked in a team that was either too small or too big. Now, team sizes that are too large are typically problematic when there's a lot of interdependence. When a lot of interdependence, you don't want to have a very large team size. So what is the best size for teams? Well, the ideal size that researchers have found is that people are happiest, they're most satisfied, most productive when the number of members is between 4 and 6. Now, again, not for all types of teams, but for the majority of teams where there's task interdependence, 4 to 6. Actually, it's 4.7 is the research ideal number. I have my own rule of thumb. My rule of thumb is pizza, right? If I need more than 2 pizzas to feed my team, it's too big of a team, right? If you have to order several pizzas, too big, right? Too big. You need to break that up into smaller teams, and then then they can communicate better and everything just works better. So that's Tanya's rule, pizza rule. All right, everyone, have a good one, and I will see you again soon at the next video. Take care. Bye.